Welcome back to the Crochet Credits. Well, my friends over at yarnspirations.com, we're going to do the Friendship Hearts Applique. Now this is technically using Aunt Lydia's crochet thread with a 2.75 millimeter hook or a size C. I really struggle with thread yarn because of the hands and my dexterity, so I just used a larger size hook, a 4 millimeter size G crochet hook, and I used a Alpaca blend, the Patons Alpaca Blend as an example. So this is obviously going to be much bigger because when you look at the size for these are really quite small. So they're only 1.5 inches across at the widest part, but because I've improvised, mine here is a little bit larger in order to do there. So it's 2.5, so it's about an inch bigger than it should be. So this might be okay for you, and I'll demonstrate that, and if you want to use your thread you can do so. It's a relatively easy pattern to be able to follow. Let's begin. As you get started on this pattern, you'll need a stitch marker or a spare piece of yarn so that you can keep this. It's going to be done as a continuous round so that you will not have any slip stitching involved. Okay, let's begin. We are going to start off with your slip knot, and you need to chain a total of 2. So 1 and 2, and second chain from the hook I want you to put in 6 single crochet, but do not join it. So 1, 2, and go right up over top of the straggler. This is 3, 4, 5, and 6. On every last stitch of a rotation I want you to move up the stitch marker, so in this case we're gonna add it. So just using that spare piece of yarn, pull it through the underside of the last stitch that you just did, and that's the 6th one. And if you went over top of the straggler, I'd recommend that you probably just cut that out now because you won't need to worry about that later. And just pull everything nice and tight, and you're going to move on to round number 2. Round number 2, we're going to put 2 single crochets in each of the 6 stitches. If you're not sure what the 6th one is, just count it backwards. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. As an experienced crocheter, I always count back just to verify. Okay, so going to the first one, so you'll put 2 single crochets in the first one, and you'll keep moving all the way around and putting 2 into each stitch until you end up in that stitch marker, which is the 6th stitch. So other than counting to 2 on this one, there's not much to count if you're relying on the stitch marker as your base. Okay, and the last one, this is your last one, so put 2 in there and move that stitch marker up to the last one so that you know where it is next time. So I just pull it, a piece of it through. I don't pull it all the way through so that it will just rest, and you're gonna move on to round number 3 next. So let's move on to round number 3. You're going to slip stitch in the very first one, so this is the top middle indentation of the heart. So slip stitch it, and that will contract it down. And in the next stitch here you're going to put 3 single crochets. So let's move slowly around. So you'll put 3 into this one. So 1, 2, and 3. The next 2 stitches are going to each be a half double crochet. So we're gonna say 1 and move to the next one, and that's the second one. So there's 2 in a row. And now you're going to single crochet in the next 2 stitches. So 1 and 2, and now we're at the very base of the heart. So right in the next stitch you're going to put 3 single crochets. So 1, 2, and 3. That gives the point of the bottom of the heart. It is a mirror, so we're going to do exactly what we just did, but in the opposite. So you're going to start off with 2 single crochets in a row, or 1 single crochet for 2 stitches. So 1 and 2, and then you're going to do your half double crochet for 2 stitches in a row. So 1 and 2, and the last stitch here is going to be 3 double crochets. So this is the opposite side of the heart. So 1, 2, and 3, and I need you to move that stitch marker up to the last double crochet here so we know where it is, and we're going to move on to the 4th and final round. So right where we're sitting, the very first stitch that's next is down here. You're going to slip stitch, and let's do slowly for round 4. So that is the middle of your flower, or sorry, of your heart. I've been working on flowers lately if you can't tell. So the next 3 stitches in a row they're going to be 2 singles in each. So 1 and 2 into the first one, and then 1 and 2 into the second, and then 1 and 2 into the third. And now we're gonna come around to the side of the heart. So the next 5 in a row are each a single crochet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And the next one here is the very base of the heart. So there'll be 3 single crochets there. So 1, 2, 3, and let's come up the other side so it's opposite to what we just did. So there's 5 in a row of singles. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And now the next 3 stitches, which will take you to the very last one, is each 2 single crochets. So 1 and 2 is the first, and then 1 and 2 is the second, and the last one is 1 and 2. And you're not quite done. To finish this off, you need to slip stitch it to the first one again, and that's the very center. So you just lay it down. You don't need to move up the stitch marker because this is it, and you're just gonna pull through nice and tight. You can pull out your stitch marker and turn it around, and you were going to secure it into the back. And then you can sew this to anything that you would like to put this to, maybe a hat or a jacket or pants. If you are doing wearables that are washable, you are going to want to use that crochet thread or a mercerized cotton versus something like this. But this would be good for a hat for sure. And then once you've just gone back and forth 3 times, you can safely cut it, and then you can shape your heart, and therefore you got 2 hearts that are good to go. Let's move on, and I'll see you again next time. It's Mikey on behalf of the Crochet Crowd, as well as my friends over at yarnspirations.com.